It is the Christmas holiday edition here. It is December 23rd, a little bit after 8 o'clock in the evening. It is actually winter is have arrived here in Michigan. It's actually looking like winter. Earlier a couple days ago was snow. Now it is, I think, freezing rain. I was out there a couple hours ago. It was it was as bad as I'm sure Chicago felt about watching their Bears play yesterday. But you know what? Festive times, festive indeed. Garrett here on the Metro East Side can't be doing this alone. Joined as always, man on the Metro West Side, my brother from another mother, Adam Hernandez. How are you this evening?
Good. I'm finally off of work for a little bit, and yeah, it is getting pretty slippery out there. I was outside, and I walked up into um into Plymouth tonight, and it was pretty bad. It was getting slick out there, and I was just walking. I wasn't driving or anything like that, but yeah, it's getting pretty slick. So hopefully, people are taking it easy out there tonight.
Yeah, so we just hope that everybody is not only getting prepped to have a great holiday season, but indeed staying safe, staying warm, staying dry, and to continue finding ways to be joyous and merry. One of the things that in the Detroit sports world that is continuing to find us to be joyous and merry is our Detroit Lions, which will be as for understandable reasons, our leadoff topic for tonight. So when we last recorded, it was just after the Lions went to 12-1 after defeating the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football, and the next game was as many know, the end of the Lions' 11-game winning streak, a 48-42 loss to the Buffalo Bills on December the 15th, a game that saw the Lions at one point trailed by 3 touchdowns. Which with the Bills coming in losing to the Rams the game before, one not surprising, but it felt like briefly at that moment that this world was ending. Reasons why, not because the Lions lost, but because a banged up team got further banged up that day. Khalil Dorsey with an injury that I believe was similar to Aiden Hutchinson's, had to get carted off, had to get emergency surgery that night. Ali McNeil, a season-ending injury, ACL, correct, on that one?
Yes,
And
ACL, yep.
Carlton Davis, broken jaw.
Broken
Uh,
jaw.
at that point, timetable up to 6 weeks. And David Montgomery with an MCL injury, which was feared to be season ending and requiring surgery, but now is looking like he is on rehab, starting with the hopes of being back in the playoffs. And people were panicking. And the internet was even more of a shit show than the internet normally is, but this with Lion fans. And then last Tuesday, Dan Campbell, 97.1 on his morning call with Costa, and who else is on that? I forget. It was Jim Costa and
John Jansen.
John Jansen and Jim Costa. Dan Campbell on this call delivers a moment that one quells fears, removes some of the doubts, and may go down, in my opinion, as even more of a what do you remember at Dan Campbell by moment than the biting kneecaps thing? And that is talking about how with this loss, this team had gotten used to eating filet every week, and this loss made them reminded when they were eating fucking moldy bread. And to also quote, even if his defense gave up 700 yards in a game, if they won by 1 point, he'd be fucking smiling from ear to ear because we will focus on all we want to do is win no matter what. And I don't know about you, man. I was ready to jump through a fucking wall. And the Lions seemed to respond to that on Sunday at Soldier Field. Windy conditions, Chicago, Jared Goff, cold weather, outdoors. Yeah, they can all eat shit. The Lions won 34-17. Jahmyr Gibbs with a rushing touchdown, 3 passing touchdowns by Jared Goff, deep bomb to Waymo, Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown with the beautiful wheelbarrow swinging, balls of brass, Dan Campbell salute. And then the newest trick play, debuted it as the stumble bum, which Jahmyr Gibbs looked like he tripped and fell and as faking a handoff, only for Gibbs to throw it to a wide open Sam Laporta. Jake Bates 2 field goals. The Lions have now set a franchise record for the first time in their history of won 13 games in a regular season. They're 13-2. The Minnesota Vikings, unfortunately, did not lose yesterday. Seattle Seahawks played them tight, but the Vikings with a late touchdown in the last 4 minutes sees the Vikings win 27-24 to also be 13-2. However, the Philadelphia Eagles went to the nation's capital to take on the Washington Commanders, or actually they play in Maryland to be exact, Landover. 1 point, the Eagles were up by 2 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts, however, I'm trying to remember because I didn't have this game completely on, but I know Jalen Hurts left with a concussion. Kenny Pickett stepped in. Kenny Pickett got hurt too. And the Commanders scratched and clawed despite a 5-turnover day. Remind us of anyone last month, with a late win, I believe, within the final 10 seconds, if I recall, if memory serves me right. 36-33 over the Eagles, ending their 10-game winning streak, which means the Eagles are now a full game behind us in the NFC standings. And that's before you throw in record versus conference record, etc. So we're 13-2, Adam. We got 2 games left in this regular season. We're still undefeated on the road, which is a wild thing to say in the NFL in 2024. We've talked about this a lot, but for everybody listening, were you on this guy is falling train after Buffalo like that, or were you not feeling like, hey, this loss was bound to happen? And how are you feeling now after, well, the Campbell quotes and then yesterday's game against the Bears?
I mean, the loss was bound to happen at some point. I think I remember like talking to you on the phone after the Bills lost against the Rams, and I thought I remember mentioning that I was a little worried about that. It's because Buffalo heading into that game had, I mean, I don't want to say it was a must win, but it was a must win in the sense that, you don't want to lose 2 games in a row. You don't want to do that. I mean, where Buffalo is right now in the AFC, you don't want to get, especially right now, you don't want to start dropping games. Doesn't matter if you've clinched or what, but you don't want to start dropping games. You don't want to start getting cold at this point in the season. So they came out hungry. They came out hungry that, last weekend, almost 2 weekends ago. And they that was a game that, they had to win. I'm not surprised that the Lions lost that game. I don't think anybody should be surprised, nor do I think that anybody should think that the sky was falling at that point, because this team right now, they've been overcoming injury all season long. They've been overcoming devastating injuries all season long.
Right.
You look at that Aiden Hutchinson injury. In that game, he went down early in the second half. If
we were up
memory serves correct.
27-6 at that point.
And the Lions didn't take, the foot off the gas, and they were arguably better. I'm not saying that, Aiden Hutchinson was holding the defense back or anything like that, but they pulled together to the extent where they were actually playing better after Aiden Hutchinson went down. They compensated for, him going down very, very nicely. And that's a testament to just how good this coaching staff is, how good they, how prepared they get this team week in and week out. And that's why I was worried, because you never want to see, you never want to continue to see guys go down. But I wasn't worried to the point where the season is over because, David Montgomery went down, Aleem McNeil went down. They've had this next man up mentality for the entire season, and it's worked. Even Sunday, you have, Graham Glasgow now, a no-go, and Christian Mahogany comes in and plays and, looks excellent. So
Right.
I mean, that's just been the whole mantra for this team this season is, kind of, plug and play to an extent, next man up, and it's been working. Now, yeah, they dropped the game against the Bills. It's not like they got blown out. I mean, they were on track to getting blown out, but this is something that we've seen since November, October of 2022. This is a team that just doesn't quit.
Right.
You can't put this team down. Um, they will always continue to fight, and they will always give themselves a chance to win, which is what they did against the Bills. And then they come back against the Bears, and they do what they have to do against a down and out team on the road. And it doesn't matter that it's the Bears. Winning is tough in the NFL, especially winning on the road.
It's arguably more impressive when you think about the fact that we lost by 13 at the Bears last year in similar circumstances. And, to go into that game, a division game, a game in, even it was clear conditions, but can be considered unfavorable, unusual conditions for this team.
It's cold.
And they went out and they made it a Illinois home game. At Soldier Field.
Yeah, and the other thing too, Garrett, is you've heard all the criticism about Jared Goff, not being able to throw the deep ball, not being able to play in the cold weather, not being able to play outdoors, and he's proven all of those criticisms wrong this year. Yeah. He has shown that he can go out and play outdoors, throw the deep ball, and he did it again. He did it again on Sunday, yesterday, and it was impressive from that standpoint, the way that they were able to overcome, the week that was, and go out there and just dominate the Bears. And I think a lot of people are feeling a lot better. And one other thing too, before we move on, you're mentioning Dan Campbell's speech, and earlier on last week, and I even noted it because we posted his post game speech yesterday, and this is something that I love about Dan Campbell, and I think this is why the players, one of the many reasons why I'm sure the players love him, is because he's not nitpicky. He's not nitpicky in the immediate aftermath of a win, because like you mentioned before, if they would have given up 700 yards or something like that, and they would have won by 1 point, he still would have been happy. Yeah. Because that's what it all comes down to in the end. It just all comes down to winning. Did you win the game? Yes, I won the game. And you could worry about the rest of that stuff later. Yes, I'm not saying that Dan Campbell's not going to go out there and fine tune with his coaches to, remedy some of those, shortcomings or the mistakes and, whatever. But I love that, when you hear those post-game speeches, he's not out there criticizing them. He's not out there saying, oh, well, if so-and-so would have done this, then we would have, he could have went on and like, that Terry and Arnold play where he kind of let up and got burned. That's not something that we can have, because that's, when we play a better team, that's going to come back to haunt us. No, it's all about winning. It's all about, at the end of the day, did we get the job done? And that's something.
It's actually a good moment while you're bringing that up. During the game, Jameson Williams, spinning the football, gets a 15-yard, unsportsmanlike. And there's a moment where you saw on Thanksgiving when this happened, Antoine Randall not yelling, but being that disappointed dad. Here, Dan Campbell.
I think Antoine Randall was yelling.
Huh? Well, Antoine Randall was kind of more pissed. He was ticked, but it was not like it was disappointed dad. Here, Dan Campbell, I don't think yells at him. I think he puts the arm around JMO.
Puts the arm, yep.
And just is like, hey, take it easy. Calms him down for a minute, because I think that was needed. And shortly after that, Goff throws that deep bomb to him. What was it? 5 catches, 143 yards yesterday for James.
Yeah, he had a career game.
110 yards away from 1,000 yards, which with only 57 catches or whatever it is, it's a new added element. two other players came back from injury. Manuel Mosley, and then for the first time, I believe this was his first regular season game, Afatu Melifonwu. Been close, almost on there. So Rekistraw, I know Ennis Rekistraw seems to be getting close on there. Then obviously there's Alex Anzalone. There's rumblings Derek Barnes might be somehow trying to make his way back. I know he started rehab last month. Back at the line, he was doing some things. So 2 games left. The San Francisco 49ers away on Monday night, December 30th. The 49ers, who are officially eliminated from playoff competition with Washington. And before their game with the Dolphins due to Washington defeating the Eagles. And then the last game of the season against the Vikings. The Vikings next week host a 10-4 Green Bay Packer team who's probably likely going to be 11-4 tonight. Hosting the New Orleans Saints at Lambeau Field for Monday Night Football. The Eagles host the Dallas Cowboy team, while undefeated for the playoffs, have been on a little bit of a run and are probably looking to play spoiler because you all know how Cowboys-Eagles games can get. Any concerns for you about our trip to Santa Clara for the 49ers? Or do you think the guys are going to have revenge on their mind for January in the NFC title game, and then we'll just have to keep an eye on what's going on in either Philly or Minnesota on Sunday?
Trent Williams is not going to be playing next weekend for San Francisco, which is a big loss for them. He's going to be out for the rest of the season. Obviously, San Francisco doesn't have anything else to play for. So, I mean, this San Francisco team is a shell of what the Lions played last year in the NFC Championship game. I mean, you still can't overlook them.
Nope.
I think that the line has grown a little bit too in Lions' favor. I mean, I don't. Yeah, this is the game that the Lions should go out there and they should win. Obviously, there's Lions have much more to play for, but there's always something about these teams with nothing to lose at this point. So, I mean, I'm not worried that the Lions are going to lose, but I think at this point right now, the thing that worries me most is, are they going to take on any more injuries? One of the biggest wins from yesterday was, perceivably, that it didn't seem like there was any injuries that happened.
I saw Colton Pouncey from the Athletics tweet that no one went into the blue tent, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's going to be at this point right now. Did you get out of the weekend without any significant injuries? Yes. Okay. Did you also win the game? Yes. Okay, great. Now, I mean, yeah, the Lions. You gotta win this game still. I mean, it's with Minnesota, the way that they're playing right now, everything's going in their favor. If you can take care of business this weekend against San Francisco, and if Green Bay can beat the Vikings, then that's it.
You win the North.
You win the North. Yeah, you win the North, and you're probably locking up. You're probably locking up the NFC as well. So, and I would love to see something like that, because obviously it takes all the pressure heading into that final game against the Vikings, and you can, kind of. I hate saying this because I don't think Dan Campbell is ever going to take the foot off the gas. It just doesn't seem like that's something that he does, but it gives you just some different options, as far as how you want to go ahead and game plan for that, and what you want to do, and if you want to rest some guys, then you can go ahead and you can do that, because you're probably going to be giving them 2 weeks off with that, with a bye in there as the number 1 seed. So.
Yeah, and also not only that too, if the division is because the last week of the regular season, all matchups, all games are flex timed. So that means if there's a division title in the NFC to play for, that'll be Sunday night likely.
Yeah. And the Vikings I think the Vikings and Packers. Yeah, the Vikings and Packers, I think, are already flexed for this weekend.
Yeah, Cowboys Eagles got moved up to 1 p.m. Packers Vikings 4:25. So
Yep.
unlike yesterday, we will be able to see a game because we were not able to see Vikings Seahawks yesterday. I think the only game we were stuck with was Patriots Bills, which I did turned off so I could catch up on yesterday's New Japan Pro Wrestling show. So yeah, do we have any other final thoughts that you want to have other than if you haven't, go on to the Not Pure Michigan Instagram channel and see the Lions being thankful for, where they even talk about where one of the ornaments is Dan Campbell carrying a wheelbarrow of, well, you can only imagine.
No, that's all I got.
So we're talking about something that's obviously given us joy and keeps finding us ways to not want to lose. Unfortunately, now we need to talk about our team in the city of Detroit that keeps finding ways to lose, and is looking like it's going to be even tonight as I'm watching this as recording. Our Detroit Red Wings. So when we last recorded, which I believe was Tuesday, December 10th, the Wings have since played 4 games, have concluded, 5 about to after here. And that was actually, I take that back, 5 games played. So a 4-1 loss at Philadelphia a couple days after we last recorded, followed up with 2 wins in a row, 4-2 at home versus the Toronto Maple Leafs, and a 6-4 win last Wednesday on TNT against the Philadelphia Flyers. Before a home-and-home took place with the Montreal Canadiens, a Friday game where the Wings had a lead, blew it, and then I did not watch on Saturday, but I knew we were already down 5-1 in Montreal after 2 periods. That's what the game ended up like. Add on today, the Wings are currently near the end of the second period at home versus St. Louis Blues team, being outshot 16-9, 10-3 after the first period, and is currently 3-0 to the Blues. So this is what I'm going to ask you. You and I have already been kind of more realists. We feel like we've been talking people off ledges. Is it even worse now than what you were thinking? Especially when you start to think about like the continued added discussion towards maybe Derek Lalonde's future.
What you start to break down game by game. You start to look at, you're not looking at this big picture here as far as, how did the week go? How did the month go? You're looking game by game at this point right now, and it's that win over Philly was nice. It was needed. But they turn around and you look at that home and home with Montreal. You had to take at least one of those. You needed to take at least one of those, and you didn't. You lost at home, and then you got annihilated on the following night.
Right.
And remember, these are both 2 teams that are playing back to back, so it's not like Montreal isn't rested or anything like that, and playing 2 games in 2 nights. Montreal is playing the same exact schedule you are at that point, and they laid a dud. And even tonight, the Blues were supposed to be that get right team for you. Blues came in dropping 3 straight, and you're at
already
home.
haven't had a coaching change this year.
Already had a coaching change this year, and what happens? You're already down. You're down 3-0 at home. 3-0 at home. You're right. I think we have been realists when it's come to this team. We've never said that they are going to make the playoffs this year, and it certainly doesn't look like they're going to on December 23rd. Right now, obviously, there's still a lot of season left. We're only nearing the end of December. There's still plenty that can happen between now and the end of the season, but this is where they are right now. Isn't anything that I anticipated. Not right now, because this is a team that looks completely lost. It looks like they have zero sense of urgency, a zero sense of urgency. And when you have a young team when you have young players, when you have guys who are even veterans too, that aren't showing a sense of, to me, that's one of the most important things. If you're not showing that sense of urgency, then you've got big problems in that locker room, I think. And I think we're getting to the point right now where, yeah, you've got to ask some serious questions about Derek Malone and whether or not he is the right guy to run this team, to coach this team. Because you look at these last few games, and it's not good. It's not good, and it's not like they're it's not like they're going out playing hard and just losing these heartbreakers. Even tonight, they just don't look good. They look flat as hell. They look despondent. They just don't look like they want to be on the ice tonight.
Nope.
And that's all coaching. That's coaching. When you have a team that looks like they don't want to be there, when they look unmotivated, that falls strictly on the shoulders of the coaching staff. And this team has a ton of talent. They have a ton of young, talented players. And you don't want to get to the habit. You don't want to get into you don't want to get to the point where you're letting these young players just go out there and have this lack of urgency, where they're not trying, they're not playing hard, where they don't look like they want to be there. That's one of the things that ruins young players. So yeah, I mean, I think Yzerman has to take a good long look at who he wants coaching this team, because at this point right now, it doesn't seem like it should be Derek Malone.
I think if anything, when you were talking about being realist, I was probably the more of the two that was thinking we'd be in playoffs, but that was probably due to where we were in at one point in February before that collapse. But this is where I kind of see this now. We had the collapse last year. We were, although above expectation and above maybe where we probably should have been, we still were in that position to then flatline the way we do the rest of the season. A smaller collapse the year before, although again, a squad in transition, doing changes and everything. Arguably, maybe you clean up a little bit of the dead weight from free agency. The only one you may have regretted was Shane Gostisbehere. Steve Yzerman's never made a coaching change in the middle of his season during his time as a running an organization in the NHL as a GM or anything. Is your opinion, is this year the first year where he does make the change?
I mean, I think if things keep going the way they are, I mean, Derek Malone could lose his job at the end of the night tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how bad it is. You can't go and you can't get the shit kicked out of you at home to the St. Louis Blues. You can't do it. And that's what's happening right now. I wouldn't be shocked at all if we come to find out that Derek Malone does not have a job at the end of the night. It would suck, considering where Christmas is in less than 2 days.
Right.
But I mean, it's the reality of professional sports in the sense is, it can't keep going the way that it's going right now. If you're losing but looking like you want to be out there, if you have this, if you have a sense of urgency, then that's one thing. But the way that they're losing, they just look lost. They look, like I said, they look lost. They look despondent. They look like a team that just doesn't want to be on the ice. And
over before the puck even drops.
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason why you should be getting outshot by the Blues tonight. There's no reason why you should be losing 3-0 to the Blues. So yeah, I mean, it may be to that point right now, and I'm sure there's gonna be people out there saying that,
should have been done last month. The California.
Yeah, it should have been done last month. It should have been should have been done last month. It should have been done last week. Some people might think I sound like an idiot because I'm saying it may be at that point. I may not be sound definitive enough, but Yeah, it's bad right now. It's bad. They're not a fun team to watch.
Nope.
They're not a fun team to watch.
They
And
don't
that
give.
sucks.
They don't give you. I think if there's one thing we talk about, and we talked about with the Lions, they're only even the one we'll wrap up with. There's a common theme for most of these Detroit sports teams for 2024, and that's hope. And right now, wins aren't giving any of us the wins. It's like the blackest of night, like outside of our respective places right now.
No, and that's the thing, Garrett, is you said that there's like a theme too. And the Lions going to set the tone for that. They've, the grit thing, the grit, going out there playing gritty. Obviously, like I said, the Lions set the tone with that. We saw the Tigers, play with that sense of grit this past season, making history, going to the playoffs, winning the wild card round over the Astros, taking the Guardians to a game 7.
Five, but
Even I'm sorry, yeah, game 5. Sorry. Even the Pistons, this year. Yeah, they're under 500, but still, JB Bickerstaff has this. Now we're gonna mention something quickly about the Pistons here in a few minutes. He has them playing, with more of a sense of urgency than what we saw last season. It seems like that team has some life to it. Even Detroit City this past year, look like a team with a greater sense of urgency than what we saw in 2022.
3 as well, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, 2023. Sorry. They look like a hungrier team. They look like it looked like they had a little bit more life on offense. So it wasn't great, but I think that obviously Danny Dicchio, got some more out of some of his players, like a Ben Morris, who looked rejuvenated after a bad 2023 season. And and this is kind of some of the things that we want to see with this team. And it's it's Detroit City. It's a rejuvenated Ben Morris, and kind of still that stingy defense, and the Lions, just what they're able to do all around, overcoming the injuries. The Tigers, that young team who was able to not give up on the season despite where they were in August, come back and go to the playoffs. The Pistons, finally having some life. JB Bickerstaff, again, putting that sense of urgency in them. What do we have with the Red Wings? Nothing. It's a team. It's a lifeless team right now that isn't even spinning its wheels. Because if you're a team spinning its wheels, then that's a team that looks like it's wanting to do something. It just can't kind of get the traction to do it. This isn't a team that's not even spinning its wheels. This is a team in fucking neutral, not doing anything. And just looking like they want the season to be over with. And it's December 23rd.
I'd argue not even neutral, trying to turn the car on, but the battery doesn't want to turn.
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. I mean, that's a better car metaphor.
After tonight, off for 3 days, back at home versus the Maple Leafs. I think it's on the 27th. I think it's the next game. It's either the 27th or the 28th. And then in the new year, you got the schedule gets a little bit tougher. You got to go to Florida, play both Tampa and the Panthers. You got to play a Minnesota Wild team who's you playing toe to toe with the Winnipeg Jets in that Central, looking like a damn fine hockey team. All these things are coming up, and we're going to be at the point where eventually it may be too late to catch up. And that'll be the move. I think we'll lose our minds if we talk about this even further.
And that's the thing too, Garrett, is I've never said that they were going to go to the playoffs. I always maintain, though, that they were going to be in the hunt for the playoffs. They're going to be fighting for a playoff spot. And you're absolutely right. It's getting to the point right now where they're not even going to be in a position to fight for a playoff spot. And to me, that's a fail. That is a fail. That's a lost season.
That is a massive step backward in for a fan base that has not been used to suffering a younger core fan base due to the success of whatever 29 straight play, however many. Now it wasn't 29, it was 26 or 27, whatever the fuck it was.
That was like 25 or 26, but yeah.
But point being is, we're going to be now 17, 18, 19. If this doesn't go, it'll be 9 seasons without playoffs. And the only team that's going longer is the Buffalo Sabres. And I argue the Buffalo Sabres are in much better position to maybe get one of those last spots this year, which means we would then have the longest streak in the NHL without making the playoffs. Never thought those words would come out of my mouth, but here we are on the evening of December 23rd, year of our Lord 2024. All right, enough talking about the wins. Otherwise, I feel like I'm just gonna be shitting out lumps of coal. Let's talk about the Pistons real quick. Adam, you mentioned it, team that's been giving us a little bit more hope. Not as many games when in the gap that we've recorded because NBA Cup. Pistons didn't make out of the NBA Cup. They had a bad night in Boston. A lot of teams have that. Then they responded a little bit with a win over the Miami Heat. Again, having a giant lead versus the Heat. Heat worked their way back. Tyler Hero hits a late one to force it to overtime. The Heat score the first 8 points of that overtime before Tim Hardaway Jr. makes 3 threes. Pistons eventually win that one, 125-124. A couple days later, a horrific first quarter against the Utah Jazz where they give up 48 points, fall behind by 29. However, they get it to within 6 at halftime, wind up losing that game by 7, and then go into Phoenix on Saturday. Yes, Devin Booker did not play, but you still went into a Phoenix Suns team that has Kevin Durant and, a well-coached Suns team, and you went on the road there. So the Pistons are 12-17 as of the time I was recording this. 10:30 p.m. Eastern tonight. They go to the what the fuck is Crypto Arena?
Crypto.com Arena, yeah.
Almost
Staples Center, yeah.
It should. When you ask me about LA, I always think about the Forum. Pistons Lakers 10:30 p.m. Eastern. The Pistons have the chance to do the season sweep over the Lakers. 2 more games after that this year. The Sacramento Kings in Sacramento on December 26th, 10 Eastern, I believe that is. And then the Denver Nuggets in the evening, 8 or 9 Eastern. Dates off the top of my head on December 28th. I didn't check to see if we still had the last play-in spot or if we were close to it. I know we're 5th in the Central Division, but considering that the East is somewhat of a dumpster fire, if you're not one of the top 5-6 teams in that division, there's a chance that you might be able to sneak in unless you're the Washington Wizards.
They do, as of tonight, they do have that last play-in game spot. So
let's stop for a brief second. December 23rd, 2024. Detroit Pistons with a win might go into Christmas holding a playoff spot in the Eastern or play-in spot, which is a chance to get into the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. They are 2 wins away from equaling their win total all of last season. They are more than a third of their win total for the last 2 seasons combined. And they are more than a fifth of their win total from the last 3 seasons combined.
I mean, it's the lowest of bars, it seems like, but it's still something. It's progress.
Yeah.
It's progress. And yeah, the East is kind of a dumpster fire this year. Not kind of, it is a dumpster fire this year. But, the Pistons are...
The NBA is a dumpster fire. I still have a little more faith in that. I like our friend Sean Red Novak when he talks about a soccer league that doesn't going to have sanctioning. I think it still has potential.
Still has potential. Yeah. But that win in Phoenix the other night was really, really, it was impressive. You had Cade looking clutch again, hitting that jumper over KD late in the 4th. It was a very, very nice win to kick off the road trip, and you hope that they can continue to capitalize on that tonight playing the Lakers. But yeah, and like I said, Pistons are in a spot right now, and the other interesting thing too about the Pistons is I forgot who wrote this. I saw it on Twitter though. It could be a very, very interesting spot here in the next few weeks because they are going to be a team right now that I believe they have like $14 million available, like cap space. And that's significant because what they can do is they can take on money at the deadline, and they can be one of those, one of those third teams in any deal that, two teams may need to bring in a third team in order to kind of, push through this blockbuster. They
Right.
need that third team to kind of take on bad contracts. But what that means is if you're taking on bad contracts, you're also taking on draft picks. And not all bad contracts are bad for every single team. Some team, one team's bad contract is potentially another team's not so bad contract, depending on what they have with the cap or where they're at with the cap.
Yep. And there is a cap floor in the NBA, so
there's a cap floor in the NBA. So that's something to continue to keep an eye on too here as things kind of move forward, because the Pistons can be one of those vital teams that is needed in order to make some type of blockbuster go through by taking on a contract that a team wants to get rid of. And bad probably isn't the right word to use in the sense. But if a team's looking to shed salary, they'll need a team like the Pistons in order to, help them shed that salary. So again, keep an eye on it. It's something that's going to be interesting moving forward as, the season progresses and, we get closer and closer to that trade deadline in the NBA. So
we're not going to go into deep dives over potential talks about these, but obviously with that, the trade deadline in the NBA is a lot earlier than the NHL. February 9th, I believe, is the trade deadline for the NBA this season. But guys like Malik Beasley, who we were expecting to maybe move this season, playing himself into maybe continuing a role and being a great spark for this team, also seems to be great buds with Kirby Joseph, which is fucking dope.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, the Pistons are going to go on a team that's going to go out and get like Jimmy Butler. But they could be involved in a deal that includes Jimmy Butler going to another team, and the Pistons being a team that takes on somebody at that point. So who knows?
Couple other names that I've been hearing rumblings that if you want, the Pistons may consider moving down the line too, as like one of these deals. Isaiah Stewart, and also it seems like there's a lot of talk lately on Jalen Duren. Plenty of ball. We got to see what's going to go on with that. But the Pistons are going to be back home New Year's night versus the Orlando Magic. So let's see what they do in the rest of this West Coast road trip. Like I said, a couple wins away from matching their win total last season. And if you can do it before the end of the year, that's fucking impressive. The feeling's coming back a little bit, boys. We'll talk more about the Tigers and maybe some Detroit City stuff the next time we go around, which will probably be at the beginning of 25. Maybe we drop one afterwards, maybe next week. Let's see how bad, if the Lions, give the fourth Cowboys beating. You have anything else you want to add, or we feel like we're rolling?
No, that's all I have tonight.
Feel free to check us all out, Detroit.themajorsports.com for all of your major Detroit content, including our 451 Centric, Channel 451 Detroit City Centrics podcast, as well as Make City Make Spence. Latest newer episodes have dropped lately for both of those. You can find us on Twitter at TMSNX Detroit, as well as TMSNXDetroit.bsky.social. Find Adam at TMSNX Adam on most social media platforms, and you can find me at GM Comats. And from us here at the Majors Detroit, to anyone checking this out in there, wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and whatever holiday you are going to be celebrating, be safe.
Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah, be whole, tidings and cheers. Happy Kwanzaa as well. Forward down all the fields of life. Until next time, see ya.